Hello guys, welcome to Anti-Gravity. This is me Satyam Shankar and welcome after the break. And in this video, we're going to be discussing about the use state hook in React, how to use it, when to use it, and why it is used. And after this video, you will learn everything you need to know about use state and you'll be able to use it in your own projects. Sorry for the long break, but now I will maintain the continuity. Suppose you want to create your counter application. So what you will do, you will create a variable known as count, and you will take and you will just display the value of count in a number div. And you will also write the stack all click some function, let's say handle change, and here also some function known as handle change on click. I will just show you why it doesn't work. So on click equals to and handle change, and we can just create a function right here. So function handle change, and oh, what we can do better is let's just give it in a callback function. So and just let the function take an argument, and when the plus button is clicked, the argument passed in it should be +1, and when the minus button is clicked, the argument passed in it should be -1. What I want my count plus equals to n. So what do you think? It will work or not? So let's say it will not work. Why? If we just console.log the value of our count, so you could see that if I click on any button right here, so one second, let's take our first button. You could see that the value of the count actually changes, but why it doesn't get showed on the screen? This is because React does not know when to read under the component, or it doesn't know when to read under the components. So suppose we know that the value is changing, but React will not read under the UI. So to read under the UI upon some event or some changes, we use this use state hook. So suppose let's just destructure it. Let me just give it the value of, let's say, state or set state. And if I now again console.log my state, if I again console.log my state, you see the value of state is 10, because the initial value was 10. And the second thing is a set state is a function. Just console.log my set state, it will display this. This is a function, and it will be used to change the value of our state. So I will show you how to change it. So suppose this was a state before the value change, and to change the value we use set state. Let's just change its value when the event occurs. So set state, and set state, in the arguments we give the new value which we want. So suppose I want my new value with 10. If I console.log my state now and just refresh my application, you'll see that the first value was 10, and the next value, if I see, it will be, you can see 10, 10, and then if I click on the plus button, it's not 20. If I click on the plus button again, it's 20 only, because we have just specified the value of my state to be 20. So I hope that you understood. Now we'll filter out a counter app. So to make things more clear, I am just creating a state variable and use state whenever the value of our state changes. So whenever we use this set state method, React re-renders the UI. So whenever this state function is called, React knows that it will read another UI. I hope that you've understood. And now let's just adjust a counter app with this. So if we just use this, so to create a state, let count and set count be equals to react dot use state and the initial value to 0. So you would have seen developers using just use state. And yes, you can do this also by using import React and just destructure use state from React, and you could directly use it. Okay, so just refresh my application, I would get nothing. So, and now on every click, I want the value to change. For instance, let's just set count be equals to count plus equals 1. And if I just refresh my application, plus 1 plus 2, you can see that the value of count is actually changing and it gets displayed in the UI. Now you would see me directly changing the value of count here. So you would see that this is considered a bad practice, because this count, we should not directly change a count inside a set count function. Instead, we should use a callback function to change it. So it should return anything, let's say uh, rev count and ref count plus equals n. So what have I done here is, when I use a callback function, React automatically passes the argument to the previous value of our state. So it passes the value same. So this is same as count, and count plus equals to n. So we should not directly use count, as I've explained earlier. So now again, if I run it, it's still working very fine. And I hope that you understood the meaning of set state. And another thing I want to tell you that you can also, if you have a static value, you can directly use the static value also. So if I just, it will be always 5. So, but I will suggest you to use a callback function every time. Now let's just quickly understand use state in an array. So I will tell you how to use when this state is an array. So you could see that, what do I want? I want that whenever this add items button is clicked, an item gets incremented to the list. And this can also be used with the help of states. And now let's just discuss how can this be achieved. So this is my boilerplate code, and what have I done here? I've created an array and items and a function which will be used to increase the items whenever this add item button is clicked. And I've created an item array that just maps each element of my array and changes this into a JSX paragraph element. And I've just rendered this on the screen. So now what do I want? Whenever this add item is clicked, I want that one item should be increased in the list. So we can use React states. So let items and set items, items and set items be equal to react use state, and the initial value which I am going to give is item 1, let's say. And whenever this button is clicked, I want a new value to be added. So let's say whenever this button is clicked, I want to set items, and I want to give as an argument previous items, and I want to change this like this. So I will be using the spread operators, prev items, and the new items would be item and items, sorry, prev items dot length plus 1. So you can see that it is working. And now let's see what have I done. So I want to set items, and I'm taking my previous items, and I'm just returning a new array. And what am I using? I'm using the spread operator, so that all the elements of my previous array be also contained in this array. And I want to add a new item which would be equal to item and the length of this array plus 1, so that the counting is correct. So you could see that it's working totally fine, and you can add and do whatever you want using use states. We have learned about useState in this video, and I hope that it will be very beneficial for you in the future. Some rules regarding React hooks is that React hook can only be declared inside a inside a function component. It cannot be declared inside a class component because the class component have their own hooks, have their own way of using hooks, and you cannot declare these hooks inside a class component because they have their own way of maintaining states like that. And the other rule is that you cannot declare a state inside an if inside a conditional block. So you cannot use this thing inside a conditional block, because if you do so, you may or may not get an error. Sometimes it will give you an error that you cannot declare hooks inside a conditional block. So please make sure of these things, and I hope that you like this video, and thank you for watching this video.